Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have a truly inspirational guest whose story is a testament to the power of resilience and personal transformation. Carlo Taormina has achieved what many might consider near impossible, overcoming clinical depression and suicidal ideation. With a background in personal training, life coaching, and keynote speaking, Carlo has risen from the depths of his mental illness to help others unleash their true potential. Now, he shares his powerful message on social media, coaches clients, and speaks some of the largest stages impact lives. Speaks on some of the largest stages impacting lives and inspiring change. Carlo, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, man. Oh, I've been looking forward to this all week.
All right, I'm glad to hear that because, I love having these conversations and I love the inspiration that comes from being able to, achieve all of these things. But not only that, it's almost like, wow, all the work that we put in this, right? It's a journey that we come through. So I want
Mhm.
to ask you the first question. What was the turning point that made you decide to turn your life around and start helping others?
Yeah, so that moment where I wanted to start helping others, like I've always known I wanted to help people, but it was in that one moment where it was still really dark for me, right? I was still feeling very depressed, suicidal, but it honestly all led to three things that changed my life. And I call it the one moment, one decision, and one action step.
Mm,
Because if I didn't have one specific moment in my life that led me to make a decision, that led me to make an action step, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have made this life changing transformation, right? So for me, that tipping point was just taking a leap of faith and understanding that there has been so much pain internally to the point where I can't take it anymore. So let me
mm,
just try one more time. And I feel like that's something that everybody should do if they are not succeeding in business or they have other kind of things internally that they might be dealing with
mm-hmm.
that is affecting them and their own peace. Is we all are deserving of abundance. We all are deserving of the life we dream of. And we most certainly are deserving of just one more chance to give ourselves.
Yeah.
So the tipping point for me was like, I've gone through so much pain. I can't bear it anymore. So let me just try one last time and see what happens. And then from that one last attempt, it literally changed my life. And then that moment where I was literally like in the transformation, I remember it was this weird feeling. I'm going to sound like really hippy dippy here, but it was like I had this telepathic communication with the universe or with God or whoever you want to talk or describe. And it was like a light bulb. It was like, Carlo, this is how you're going to help people. You're going to help people find deeper fulfillment, find this renewed purpose, just like you did just now. And it hit me like a shockwave. And I was like, okay, you got it. And then ever since that day, that's what I've been dedicated to do.
Man, that's really, really powerful. And was that after the clinical depression or was it during, towards the end of it? What, how did your experience with clinical depression shape your approach to life coaching and personal training? Talk
Yeah.
about it.
So for me, going through clinical depression, being suicidal, I know what it's like to experience not only failure, but
Mm-hmm.
true despair. Like people say, I'm at the end of my rope. I didn't have a rope to climb on. That's how negative I felt and how rock bottom I was at. So, how it kind of shaped my coaching was like, based on my experience of where I am today and how successful I am today,
Mm-hmm.
I know that no matter who you are, where you come from, what you're currently going through, everybody has this level of potential that they don't even think they have. Like they don't believe it. So my philosophy is how can I extract the amazing parts of you out of yourself?
Mm.
So for me, it's like I know if I can go from rock bottom, right, and literally be at the threshold of taking my own life. Like I literally, and not to be too TMI here, but I was literally at a point where I had a gun against my head. And I was like,
Mm.
I can't do this. So I know if I can come from that point and completely do a 180 and realize my untapped potential of what I'm really capable of and achieve what I have achieved so far and what I'm continuing to achieve, I know everyone else can do that. So
Mm.
my philosophy is how can I extract the real version of yourself and pull that out and show you and reflect it like a mirror to let you see for yourself, believe it, so that way you can overcome limiting beliefs that you have about yourself. So you can find the confidence, so you can
Mm.
see a bigger picture for yourself that you may not have seen before. And once we do that, that's going to give you so much fuel to the fire where it's going to light the fire underneath your seat to get you going, to help you bust through these walls that you couldn't do it before. So my whole philosophy is like, how can I do just that? And it's been a blessing and a half. I've been on coaching calls with clients and they literally do that 180 themselves. And it's not to boast, but it's almost like me reliving that moment again for myself, and it makes me feel really, really good. And then on top of that, I'm speaking on stages and seeing this transformation. People are in tears, people are getting really emotional from my testimony. And I'm like, wow, if this story can only help me, I know it can help a lot of people out there.
Mm.
And again, I've said it before, it's been a blessing, but like I'm just getting started, I'm just getting warmed up, and things are getting better, from here on out.
That's amazing. It's almost like you're giving them permission to be themselves. You're giving them permission to say, hey, I've gone through all of this and I'm still here. You can
Mm-hmm.
too. Plus, I think the people that are coming to these events, they're already ready because, they call it, you gotta have the right rooms where you're speaking in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, like when I was telling you earlier before we started this,
Mm.
is I did a keynote for my old high school, and it was great to go there, right? I mean, it was definitely nostalgic for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but I remember specifically there were just some kids, and most kids were just not having it. Like they could care less, and I personally think it was some level of maturity or lack thereof. But in my head, as I'm speaking, I'm like, man, these kids aren't resonating with it. They just want me to leave, but I was
Mm.
still giving them my 100%. But then after, when I was done, I had a couple students approach me and they're like, I really resonated with that. That really put things in perspective for me.
Yeah.
Can I have a conversation with you later? So there are going to be rooms that I go in that may not be, the gold standard, the first pick, but a lot of the rooms I go to, because they're big events, right? They are
Mm-hmm.
seminars, they are corporate events where like it's all about personal or professional development. So when they go to these events, it's like they're breaking down a wall that is like, I'm ready to be vulnerable, I'm ready to grow and to learn. And I feel like when people do that, when they get real with themselves, when they get really vulnerable
Mm-hmm.
and they say, not only do I need help, but I want to learn, I want to grow. And when they're in that mindset, they're more acceptable to the lessons. And it's so funny because now that I think about that, that's literally two pictures of myself. Because I remember when I was in that depressed state,
Mm-hmm.
I literally did not want anything to do with anything. Like I cut off communication with my family. I didn't do anything. I could care less about anything.
Mm.
And you could have told me, hey, I have the cure right here in my hand. You just have to take it. I probably would have said no because I wasn't in that right state.
Yeah.
Right. And even when I was in therapy, I did therapy and it didn't help me. But what was being taught to me through my therapist, through my family, not everything was right, but a lot of it was valuable information.
Mm.
But I just wasn't in the right like headspace to accept it.
Yeah.
But then when I was on the other side of the spectrum, when I was in the place to learn, when I was in the place and I was in that state to accept information, when I
Mm.
changed my state literally, I was more acceptable to the information and I absorbed it like a sponge.
Yeah.
And as a result, it literally changed my life.
Man, that's really powerful. We really have to be in the right state of mind to for that stuff to work on our bodies, and it's almost like you have a dirty dish, but it's on the counter, or it's on a counter further away from the sink. Well, no matter how much water you're gonna let through the faucet, that dish is still gonna be dirty. It has to come to get cleaned. I love that, man. What are some of the strategies or techniques you're finding most effective in overcoming self-doubt and limiting beliefs? Because those are some things that we all struggle with on an ongoing basis. Is that something that's like taught earlier early in our lives as kids, or is it something just you know, natural?
I think it is something that there are some things we are taught as kids that we're being, when we're growing up. And I'm not trying to put the blame on our parents, but I'm not putting blame on anything or anybody,
Mm-hmm.
but it's when we're initially learning as kids, we have our family members that teach us things. We have somebody in school that teaches these things. And when we go into life as an adult, it's like we only know what we know,
Yeah.
right? And for us, we accept that as truth. Now, there are some things that are 100% truth. Like if you murder somebody, that's not good. Like don't do
No,
it.
no,
Like,
please
okay,
don't do that.
I can get that's pretty bad. But there are a lot of things, maybe even majority of things that we're taught from a young age, and even when we're progressing through life, that we think we know or that we're learning, but in reality, it's kind of subjective, right? Like you can twist it another way, you can
Mm-hmm.
approach it a different way and start another belief. So a big thing that happens is from experience, and that's what kind of causes beliefs to be beliefs. So it's like if my name was John and I tried to lose 20 pounds and I tried one time, two
Mm-hmm.
times, three times, and I always failed, we then create a belief that says maybe I'm just not meant to be a skinny person. Maybe I'm not meant to be fit. Maybe I'm just going to be
Yeah.
fat forever, right? It's like just because we have a certain experience from the past, we let it dictate the rest of our lives. And some techniques I know to be true that really help me, and I can give one or two off the top of my head. I mean, I have a whole program full of all these things to help people.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I understood about beliefs themselves is that it's just a story. That's
Yeah.
all it is. A belief is a belief because we believe it.
Yeah.
So a belief is just a story we are telling ourselves with enough emotional intensity behind it. And because there's so much emotion invested in it, that's what makes it true to us. So for me, for example, I told myself that no matter what I try, I'm always going to fail. I am just a professional loser. And
Mm.
I literally told myself that back in 2021 when I was laying in bed every single day for a year. And I believed it. And then what happened as I was telling myself these things, I'm no good, I'm not going to amount to anything,
Mm.
my brain started to give me evidence because that's the brain's job. It looks for evidence. So it was almost supplementing this belief. And it was like, oh, hey, Carlo, remember here when you started this one business and you failed? That's
Yeah.
why you're a failure. Remember when you did this and you
It's
didn't do well? That's why you're not going to succeed.
it's like you keep getting reminded that, hey, here's all the examples of how you failed. See, you are a failure.
Exactly. And
Mm-hmm.
I understood that whatever I focus on, I'm going to get in return. Right. So not only was that assisting my limiting beliefs,
Mm.
but once I understood the framework of what beliefs are, I understood that I could do the exact opposite. So what I did was, and I do this for my clients, is first I had an honest conversation with myself. And I wrote down what my limiting beliefs were. And I put
Mm.
them on paper, something that was tangible, something that I could hold and read. And I read these beliefs. And then when I was done reading these beliefs, I wrote down what negative consequence they have on my life and how they're hindering my progress.
Mm.
And then I understood the truth of what was going on. And then what part of the kicker was is I would write down every single reason why this limiting belief was BS and why it was so ridiculously incorrect. And then I felt like a madman because I was writing all these things down. And I was essentially giving myself the answers as to why this limiting belief is fake, why it's harming me, and then to kind of keep going on that process
Mm-hmm.
to overcome these limiting beliefs, what I would do is create a new one. Or several, depending on how severe the situation was.
Yeah.
So I would write down all of my new beliefs I needed to have in order to be successful, in order to achieve whatever goal I wanted to achieve. And I would be adopting these beliefs, but not only adopting that, what would really settle it in for me, what would really like engrave it in my brain and help me rewire myself was I would do this like meditative exercise. And what I would do is I would envision all these times, all these moments from my past where I felt confident, where I felt successful. So if my limiting
Mm.
beliefs were like, I'm a failure, I suck, I would go back to my memories from my past and reflect on moments where I felt successful,
Nice.
accomplished, confident. And I would relive these moments as if they were really happening, like physically, like in real time.
Mm.
And as I did that, it gave me proof, just like it would for my limiting belief. Like
Yeah.
it gave me evidence. So I was giving myself evidence of all these times where I was successful. And that's what really helped me overcome that limiting belief. And then the second thing I would do to explain it pretty quickly is I understood that all emotions are physical, just like fear, just like anxiety, just like
Yeah.
happiness. You'll notice whatever emotion you're feeling, there is a physical response to it. So when I was in those emotions of negativity, depression, fear, anxiety, I would have this feeling of feeling small, of feeling
Mm.
constricted, feeling contracted, felt like I was being choked or I had a lot of compression on my chest. And I realized that the longer I was laying in bed every day and just feeling all mopey, that was only supplementing my depression. That was only
Mm.
supplementing these negative feelings and fueling the fire to these limiting beliefs and to me believing them, right?
Yeah.
So I understood that if I do the exact opposite and change my physical body, my state, my physiology, it is literally going to help me change the way I feel.
Mm.
And that's what I did. And as a result of me changing my physical body, not only did I feel better, but scientifically, this is proven, is if you actually move your body for like 2 minutes, radically, like dance to a song, do some jumping jacks, sprint in place, and whatever the case may be, if you just move your body, you're actually producing and releasing serotonin in the brain, which is the mood boosting hormone.
Mm.
So it's literally making you happier. And what I understood from, I keep saying that I understood,
Yeah.
but from what happened from me moving my body was two things. One, I felt much better about myself. I didn't feel like I was carrying the weight of the world anymore. In fact, I felt lighter. I felt happier, but I was also in a better state to make better decisions. And that's something that I think a lot of people are lacking
Mm.
is that when we make decisions, we make them probably out of fear or out of anxiety or out of any negative emotion. But when you are clear headed, clear minded, feeling confident as ever, that's the best place to make decisions.
Man, that's really powerful because you're literally creating the action to create the emotion that you're wanting to. You're basically hacking your brain to say, "Hey, no, I'm happy."
Essentially, yeah.
Man, you've gone from coaching one-on-one to now keynote speaking so that you can have a better impact on more and more people. What do you hope that people take away from speaking your speeches as you do more of those?
I want them to know a couple things. I want them to know that anybody can overcome adversity. Like just because you think you're in hell right now, that doesn't mean that that's the end for you.
Mm.
It only is just there to help you. And I feel like any negatives, any situation in your life, regardless if it is positive or negative, it is there to help you in some way, shape, or form. There is a lesson in it. There is something happening for you at all times.
Mm.
And I know that anybody can overcome adversity. It doesn't matter, again, where you're from, what you're going through, what's happening. Anybody can do it. And I use myself as like this, not only as my testimonial, but I use myself as living proof. Like, hey, not to say like, hey, look at me, I did this incredible thing, praise me. It's nothing like that. But it's
Yeah.
like, it's proof. If you want proof, if you're a doubting Tom, like, look at me. I'm literally standing on this stage right now
Yeah.
telling yourself telling you I was this close from taking my life. And if I can overcome that adversity
Yeah.
and grow from it and become successful, and I'm continuing to grow, why can't you?
Yeah.
And I want people to know too that there is this like warrior inside of these people, inside of everybody that we don't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
If you can just tap into that person, I guarantee you everything that you wish for, hope for, want, like it will come true if you just let the real version of yourself out.
That's really powerful, and I think um, what you mentioned about being the warrior inside of us. Of course, we all want to succeed. We all want to be successful. And one thing that I say is, the first four letters in the word success is suck. So you gotta suck first before you get to success, right?
I've never heard of that. I am taking that.
Take it. Because people say fail fast, fail forward, and then you'll succeed because you can't really tell what success is until you failed. You now have the contrast of the night and day difference of what it is to feel success. So, I love that. How do you continue to maintain your own mental health while helping others with theirs? Because I'm sure it's
Yeah.
a lot,
So
right? Because not only are you listening to all the stuff that they're going through, I'm like, oh my God, it just starts tightening up my bag when I'm talking to people. But how do you do that?
it's through small, consistent behaviors, right? So okay, when I learned what I know now on improving my own mental health, it wasn't something that I just learned, I guess, and I said, okay, that's it. I'm done now. I look at it through the lens of like just like going to the gym, right? Your brain is a muscle just like your bicep. So for me, it's like, how can I be consistent with these mental exercises to keep
Mm-hmm.
myself fit and healthy? So what I do is I just essentially have a quote unquote workout plan, but for my own mental health.
Yeah.
So it's like every morning when I wake up, the first thing I do in the morning is I don't go on social media. I don't go on my Instagram. I mean, I don't do it every. I mean, I do this every single day, but will be some days where I slip up, where I
Sure.
might just look at my emails, right? But for the most part, consistently, I am not checking my social media. The first thing I do when I wake up is I get myself in state. So how do I do that? Is I come here in my office because if I did it in my bedroom, my fiance would kill me. Is I come in here in my office and I get myself in the proper state. I change my physiology, my body language, as we were mentioning before, and I'll literally dance to a song for a few minutes just to get myself right, to get myself in a proper state to make better decisions.
Mm.
And then I'll meditate for like 10 to 15 minutes and I'll go through my gratitude exercises in this meditation, right? I'll envision what I want for my life. I'll envision anything that serves me. And then I'll journal. I think journaling is key. Um, and then throughout that, to help improve my own mental health, I continuously exercise physically. I go to the gym on a daily basis. I read, I learn, I grow on how to
Mm-hmm.
help my own mental health. So if you can just stick to these little tasks, almost like a single exercise and a workout plan, and you're just consistent with it,
Mm.
that's what helps me. That's what helps my sanity, my own mental health. So when I am helping other clients or I'm traveling everywhere and I'm having like, my head is on a swivel,
Mm-hmm.
I know that I can come back to grounding myself with these different exercises I do. And I think everybody should do that.
No, that's really powerful. It's almost like you've trained your brain to, instead of getting pleasure or getting those dopamine rush from doing something bad, you're doing something good and making it easier for yourself to do that too. And I've been rereading the book by James Clear, Atomic Habits. Right, he talks about those things like, hey, how are you stacking your habits? How are you making it hard for you to watch television? Like he's like, if you want to break a habit, you got to make it inaccessible or very hard to get to. Like for example, if you're done watching TV, take the remote, put the remote next to the TV, or take the batteries out of it, or unplug the television, or take the TV and put it in a closet. So now, next time you want to watch TV, you're gonna think three times okay, I gotta do this, this, and this, and then watch TV. Now, you know what? I'd rather just go out for a walk.
Yep. And that's good though.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Yeah.
And once we realize that like our life can literally change through simple processes. Like the way I like to describe it is the process is simple, but it's not easy because we all know how to lose weight. We all know,
Mm-hmm.
how to get good at a certain skill, right? But it's like just because the information is everywhere,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean everyone is doing it, right? So it's like if we just be consistent with just small activities that help us get to the bigger goal, and you just do it on a daily basis, you are so much more likely to be successful.
Amen. Well, Carlo, it has been a lot of fun talking with you about mindset, about making small changes in our lives so that we can be more powerful and move forward. We're going to take a quick short break, and when we return, Carlo, you're going to share 3 actionable hacks that you can implement right away to improve your personal and professional life. Stay tuned. Hey guys, so we've been talking on the podcast, and as you know, I am a huge proponent of personal development, and that's one of the reasons why I bring on amazing guests like Carlo and the guests that you've experienced with before over the past few years. I mean, hitting the number 500 has been a lot of fun, but what I want to talk about is as I'm gone through this own journey for myself, setting up the space that I have, people ask me, how did you do that? What camera are you using? What lightings are you using? What type of microphone should I get? And I get these kinds of questions so many times in so many consultation calls that I was like, you know what? I need to put this in a book. So coming on June 4th, you can go pick up the book, 7 Stages of Home Studio Evolution from Beginner to Expert. The title might change, but it's going to talk to you about the different stages that you might be in for your home studio and how you can level up so that you can come and show up authentically on camera and build that confidence and build that audience that's going to rave about you. So, check that out on June 4th, and back to the episode. Carlo, thank you so much, man. This has been a lot of fun. I cannot wait for the 3 hacks you've got for us.
Absolutely. So the 3 hacks I would say is the first hack. I would say this can be chronological. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to, but this is what I do to make it chronological.
Sure.
We already touched on one of them, which was physiology. And again, I think this one, if you don't do it chronologically, just please do this one first, because I think
Mm-hmm.
this is the foundation of how you're going to feel in order to get better and succeed at professional or personal development. And it is physiology. Like
Mm-hmm.
I can't stress this enough is again, your emotional state will transform into a physical presence, right? So everybody who's ever felt angry, sad, depressed, fearful, whatever the case may be, like take a look at your body language. For the most part, a lot of people when they're angry, sad, whatever the case may be, that is a negative situation. If you take notice of your body language, you're probably sitting on the couch, you're laying in bed, curled up in a ball, scrolling through social media, and like not moving. And I know we all can agree to that.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if you simply did the exact opposite? And a beautiful example I like to paint for people is, have you ever seen somebody dancing who was pissed off? I'm pretty sure the answer is no.
No way.
So, but it's like those two drastic differences is like if you really think about it, people who are moving are going to feel happier, just like plain and simple. So the first hack I would say is move your body. Like if you're feeling crappy for, you got a negative, you had a negative experience at
Mm-hmm.
work, or somebody told you some bad news, the best thing you can do is just get out of the current state you're in by moving your body. Dance to a song, do jumping jacks, sprint in place, stand like Superman for 2 minutes, like whatever you need to do. Smiling also does help change your physiology, by
Yeah.
the way. Just add that to your plan. So that's number one, I would say. Number two, I would say is your focus. And I did touch on this in a moment, but I kind of wanted to expand.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I do get reminded of this from an amazing book I read. as a man thinketh. This book was written years and years ago, but you can read it in like one sitting. It is legit this thin, but the book has so many truths to it. It is so relatable to today. And the moral of the book is that you become what you focus on. If you're continuously focusing on things that make you fearful, things that make you anxious, that's how you're going to feel. That's how you're going to internalize it. But what I understood is that whatever is wrong will always be available, but so is what's right. And if
Mm-hmm.
you simply shift your focus to everything that serves you, everything that makes you feel grateful, everything that makes you feel excited, anything that serves you, that is exactly how you're going to feel. And your
Nice.
thoughts become feelings or emotions, and your feelings and emotions become behaviors. So when you're focusing on something that serves you, you're going to thank me later for it. So that's number two. And number three, that I would say, and people honestly overlook this, and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to kind of bring this to the forefront because I think it's very important, is the power of language. Because people all the time, and I mean, I'm guilty of this too, we can't avoid it, but if we are more self aware of it, we can definitely reduce it and
Mm-hmm.
help ourselves in the long run. So with language, I get reminded of this Bruce Lee quote, and this is not verbatim, so don't quote me on this, but it's like Bruce Lee said, be aware of your language because your brain doesn't know the difference. So if you say to yourself, "Oh, I'm so stupid," even if you're joking, your brain doesn't know the difference. It's just using those words and it's internalizing them and making you feel that way.
Wow.
So if you keep saying to yourself, "Oh crap, I messed up. I'm such an idiot," or "Man, I freaking hate this job," and you say it with those words, that tonality internally, that's going to make you feel that negative emotion.
Mm.
But if you say words instead of "I have to," you can change it to "I get to,"
Get to.
right? If you use powerful incantations or phrases that you create for yourself, so instead of telling yourself, "I'm a loser, I'm a failure, I suck," what if you tell yourself, "I am confident, I am successful, I am resourceful," and then you do that meditative exercise where you're imagining those things, right? And even the tone of what you say. And this is so funny. I think you would appreciate this one
Yeah.
because you mentioned you want to get involved in film and stuff like that. I remember I was reading this book back in high school because I love acting. It was a book by Sanford Meisner. He's passed away, of course, but was a very famous acting teacher back
Mm.
in like I think like the 50s, 60s, something like that. And he would do this one exercise where he would have a line of dialogue, but it wouldn't have like any description on it. Like, oh, he said it angrily, he said it exciting,
Mm-hmm.
right? He would just have the line of dialogue. And depending on the actor's response and tonality and how he said it, that would evoke the response from his co-host or
Mm-hmm.
co-partner or whatever. So if the line said, "I hate you," the actor could say, "Oh, I hate you," very
Mm.
negatively. And in response, it's going to make me feel negative as the other person standing in front of the actor. But if I said, "Oh, I hate you," it's playful, right? And it's
Yeah.
joking. So if you're aware of your own tonality on how you speak to yourself, it can literally, again, biohack your brain
Nice.
of kind of tricking you, like, "Oh, is this a fun experience? Is this a negative experience?" So with combination of words and tonality, and you put them together, it's definitely going to serve you in the long run. And that was a long-winded
No,
response
I
to
love
that
it.
one, but it does go a long way.
No, it actually reminds me when you mention, the things you say and how you say it is going you're going to eventually start feeling it. Now this was there's this video on YouTube and it's called The Laughing Yoga, right? And this guy, he's got the Hindu up, get up going on, and he's like laughing. He's like, I'm happy, I'm relaxed. So my wife makes fun of it all the time, right? She'll like do the tone and she'll do the voice. I'm happy, I'm relaxed. Like, so this guy's just standing there doing this for like 5 6 minutes. I'm like, oh my god, how is he able to do this? Because he's obviously, setting the stage for how he wants to feel, and all the stuff that you mentioned. The brain releases endorphins when you move your body, and it can also significantly improve your mood and mental health. And that's exactly what he's doing by literally saying all of the stuff that he wants to feel.
Mhm. I mean, it's again, it's so simple, but
Yeah.
yet we're not aware of it. And when we simply become aware of all these things we do,
Hmm.
it's game over. The game has changed literally. It'll help
Ah,
you in the long run.
I love it. Well, Carl, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for leveling up my mindset. I'm going to go do some jumping jacks, go listen to some music and dance to it because I do need to change my state. But before we leave, we've got the getting to know you segment where I ask 6 questions to all my guests.
All right, let's bring it.
Let's do it. Number one, what is the one hobby that you wish you got into?
I really wish I got into surfing. I mean, there's so many I want to do, but surfing is definitely one, definitely on the top of my list.
Mm-hmm.
I remember like watching movies with people surfing in them. I would watch like Rocket Power as a kid on Nickelodeon, and they'd be like surfing and whatnot. And just, it seems like the most liberating sport.
Yeah.
That and soccer, which I do, but surfing is probably next on that list.
Nice. I like it. Next up, what did you want to be when you were a child?
That's so funny you asked that, man. Because when I was a kid, I wanted to be everything. I wanted to be
Mm,
a soccer player. I wanted to be a magician. I wanted to be a professional boxer, a professional wrestler. But I'll go or actor. But I will go with the first thing I wanted to be when I was a kid, which was a professional soccer player,
nice. And you still play. So that's awesome.
recreationally.
Recreationally, not professionally. All right, no worries. Next up, what is your favorite movie or TV show?
Ooh, I gotta say, one of my I don't know, oh god, I suck at these. Forgive me. One of my favorite movies is Life is Beautiful by Roberto Benigni.
Hmm.
This movie was made in like 93, 94. It
Mm-hmm.
was a foreign Italian film. But when you watch that movie, you're gonna realize why it's one of my favorite movies. It will touch your heart.
Nice. Life is beautiful. I'm gonna have to go check that out. Next question: what movie would you choose if you got to play a character in it?
Oh, I don't think I've ever been asked that before. What movie would I want to be in?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. I would say probably like Rocky. Because I feel like
Oh
honestly, like that,
yeah.
like the way my life has gone and played out, it's like the underdog, you're probably expected to lose,
Mm-hmm.
you're at the end of your rope, but
Yeah.
you go the distance.
That's such a powerful movie too. I love
Yeah.
that one.
I worship that movie. That's why I wanted to become a professional boxer when I was a kid, because I watched all the Rocky movies nonstop.
So cool, so cool. All right, next up, who is your favorite superhero?
Spider-Man, hands down.
Hands down. He
Because
is
that was probably one of the first superhero movies I ever watched.
with Tobey Maguire,
Yep.
right? And I was just reading an article recently. They're working on, a Spider-Man 4 right now with Tom Holland, and they're so since if Sony had to do it, they want to bring back Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and kind of like relive what they did in Part 3. But Kevin Feige's like, no, man, come on. We just reset the whole storyboard for Spider-Man. We can do something really grounded. So we'll see what happens. I just think Marvel needs to take over and just buy all the rights, whatever they need to do for
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
honestly, because I mean, I can have this conversation with you for hours because I know you're a Marvel fan,
Mm.
but like Sony in general, what they're doing with that character, that franchise, it's just like I don't know. I just don't trust it entirely. Like
Yeah,
I didn't bother watching Madam Web,
sure.
because I know they're trying to do something grandiose, but I feel like it's just gonna flop miserably. But as much as I love Tom Holland, as much as I love Andrew Garfield, as much as I love Tobey Maguire, I
Yeah.
really don't want them to taint these characters, and especially because Spider-Man is still in the MCU. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I have more faith in the MCU of what they're going to do
Yeah.
with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But it's like if they just do another, No Way Home where they just bring these characters back, like
Right.
there has to be a reason for it.
There has to be. Yeah. So is Madame Web connected to all of this? Because I haven't
I
seen it
think
yet.
they're trying to connect it because
Oh.
like how every Sony title that has come out recently has been evolved revolved around the Spider-Man universe. Like
Mm,
Venom, well, there's Venom,
yeah,
then there's Morbius, and
yeah,
then Kraven the Hunter is going to come out.
mm,
Madam Web's out, so it's like I feel like they're trying to involve all these Spider-Man titles across the Spider Verse, right? Which
yes,
is the only Sony title Spider-Man thing I really enjoy, other than
yeah,
like the original Spider movies.
yeah.
But it's like even within that, they have a lot of callbacks to the original
They
Spider-Man. They
do,
have
yeah,
callbacks to Tom Holland Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. So it's like they're trying something, but I just don't trust Sony.
yeah. They're just trying to milk it every which way, but the
It's
nostalgia,
the most profitable character.
right? Because it's so easy to do, and now that they've invited the entire Spider Verse, all the different types of spiders like you can ever imagine on screen, they can literally build an entire, you know, world around it. So I mean, we'll see what happens with the next movie that comes out. All right, last question. I know we this was a fun topic. If you were a board game, what would it be?
Ooh, that was a board game? Dang it. Man, these questions are good. I would say seen it. It's an I don't know if anyone even knows this game anymore, but it was
Mm.
like an interactive DVD game with a board game,
Oh,
and it was all
nice.
about movies. And it's like that's literally
Seen
my
it?
domain.
Oh, I've seen that movie. Oh, I've seen that movie. Oh, I haven't seen that one. I gotta watch it. Mm.
Exactly. Like it'll give you trivia
Yeah.
based on all these movies. And I was the best at that game.
Nice. So when
Nobody wanted to play with me because they knew they would lose.
so when I do a movie podcast, we gotta bring you back on.
100%.
Carlo, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your motivation, your enthusiasm here. I'm totally liven up and can't wait to talk more in a future episode.
Thank you so much. Like this is the end of my day too. So this is a good end to the work day. I loved it. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the future.
Awesome. Well, guys, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for sticking around. We had a fun conversation with Carlo. Until next time, we'll catch you soon. I even forgot my ending line. See you guys.